had raised you, I could have made you better. And not some weak, sniveling pussy. You're a fucking disappointment.
Okay. The Boys is an American TV show and a satire of the superhero genre developed by Prime Video, where we follow a group of ex-CIA agents in their attempts at compromising a superhero-centered company responsible for some of the biggest soups on the planet, led by Billy Butcher, MM, Frenchie, Kamiko, and Huey Campbell, who gets wrapped into the group when a soup accidentally kills his girlfriend. Obviously more to it than that, but this show has been on the air for about 7 years now, and has finally concluded with its finale, which was released on May 20th of this year. And, it wasn't great. Yeah, listen, it's no secret if you were a Boys fan, you've probably seen the negative reception of the show's last season online, despite your actual opinion on the last season, because take it from me, I actually was really enjoying The Boys Season 5 for a long while, until it hit about episode 6, which really, in my eyes, marked the decline of this season. However, I wouldn't necessarily say this season is an all-timer for worst final season ever. Like, I gotta be honest, the people putting this on the same level as the Game of Thrones finale and the Stranger Things final season, with respect, I gotta be honest, what kind of drugs are you guys on? Like, no. Are we serious here? The Game of Thrones finale was genuinely a complete betrayal of everything that they had set up before. And, I mean, Stranger Things was just a complete inept, boring, sauceless conclusion that for the life of me, I can barely fucking remember. In fact, now I'm actually thinking about it, the only thing I really remember about that season is just that one kid that's just screamed, "Suck my fat one!" Which is ironic, since after watching that season, that's exactly what the Duffer Brothers were saying to the fans. But despite this season was still incredibly disappointing. Not the worst, but god damn underwhelming. And interestingly enough, I actually had wrote an entire alternate review of this show prior that I am not using right now, obviously, that sang the praises way higher of this season. But then something happened. That last episode aired, and it really got me thinking about how I could format this video, because for the life of me, I had no idea how to start this review after watching that episode. But after I soon realized that I think this last season of The Boys represents the dangers of a rushed finale perfectly. So that's what we're gonna go with today, as I talk about all the problems that this season has, and ways in general that it could have been a lot better. But before that, I just want to remind you guys, we're only a few thousand subscribers away from 1 million subscribers, you know, so if you enjoy the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing, because if you don't, well, let's just say you won't like what happens if you don't. Let's get to the video. Now, the first thing I really want to address, like I said before, is even though this season has been pretty hit or miss, all things considered, there are some things I still think this season did actually pretty well, and I feel it's only right to at least bring those things up, and I also feel bringing those things up, it'll be a lot easier to explain my stance on some of the problems I had this season, which I think you'll understand what I mean when I get further into this video. But first things first, I still think that this season is extremely funny and well written. For the first 5 episodes, I'll say. The first 5 episodes I think are on par with some of the other seasons. The writing is consistent and the laughs are pretty frequent, with my favorite, absolutely, of the entire season being,
just try making everybody happy. You can't do it. Finales are the worst.
Your voice makes me want to kill myself.
You have no idea how hard I laughed at that the first time I watched it. And also, I gotta shout out the Homelander memes this season.
Have you seen the memes about me?
Flashback.
Posting them should be a crime.
Honestly, they're fucking peak. Like, I have nothing else to say. And speaking of peak, guys, something amazing happened during this season. Are you ready for it? Are you ready? The Deep is dead! Oh my god, thank fucking Christ. Oh my god, thank you! I thought he was gonna sneak his way out of this season unscathed and show up in the fucking Boys Mexico or whatever the hell that show is. Oh my god, I'm just so glad he's gone. Love that he just got no redemption story whatsoever, and was a loser at the beginning of the show, and guess what? Was a loser by the end of the show. Truly earned his name as the Peak. Just wonderful stuff there. And the way it happened too, perfect. Question though, and this isn't a nitpick at all, it's just a genuine question. Can the Deep swim really fast? And when I mean by fast, like, can he swim like Aquaman where he just like propels himself forward? Like, or does he just like swim like a regular dude? Because in that scene where he dies, he tries to swim away, but he's just like a regular dude. So is he able to swim that fast? Like, I genuinely have no idea, because I don't think they have ever shown him swimming on his own. The Deep, the water and fish guy, they've never shown him swim on his own. And honestly, now that I'm really thinking about it even more, like, the only time you really see him in the water is when he's riding, like, something else, like he's riding a shark or a whale.
I'm the Lord of the Seven Seas, baby. I'm all about that Sigma life.
Next thing I want to talk about is that I was actually very satisfied when it came to certain character arcs this season and how they ended out. The big ones being A-Train, Firecracker, Homelander, Butcher, and Huey. Starting with A-Train, I really think this character has been through a lot of development throughout the series run. And it all came to an end here, and honestly, it was great. I love the parallels they were able to make with the first season, as in the past, A-Train didn't really care about anyone. He was selfish, and so selfish that when he ran through Robin, he didn't care, which is the whole reason the show started in the first place, may I remind you. But now when he's put in a similar situation, he dodges out of the way, which honestly I think is kind of a beautiful full circle moment here, where you really do see the development of his character of becoming a better person, and becoming more selfless and wanting to protect his family and others for that matter, even if that led him to be unfortunately killed by Homelander. And I think it also did a really good job at setting up the season's tone at the beginning and to show that Homelander is not playing around this season. Honestly, perfect way to start the show. Then we get to Firecracker, who hasn't really gotten a lot of real character development since her introduction in season 4, but here she actually gets a pretty thought-provoking arc where she's being put in a situation where she must choose between her faith and her love for Homelander. And honestly, it led to some pretty compelling drama. Like, I understand that Firecracker is a fucking horrible character from a person-wise, like she's absolutely a horrible person, but honestly, it really was quite interesting how they handled this subplot in this season, as Firecracker basically betrays everything she's believed in, going as far to accuse her old pastor, who she's still friends with, by the way, and try and convince people that he's a pedophile. And that's not true, obviously. That does not happen in the show. It shows how far she's willing to go to be with Homelander because she loves him. And even though through all that dedication to him, she still gets killed by Homelander, which obviously in certain ways can be viewed as a certain parallel to different things in our political sphere, which I won't talk about because I hate politics. I'm not good at talking about them. But regardless, it really made for some interesting commentary. But most importantly, we gotta talk about Homelander and Butcher. Now, during this section, I'm going to try and be as clear as possible because what I say may be a little confusing. I don't know how it's going to sound out loud, but I'm going to try to explain it to the best of my ability because when it comes to Butcher and Homelander, I think they both had perfect endings. On paper. Homelander losing his powers and turning into the weak, pathetic man he always has been is honestly a perfect way to end his character and very in character and makes complete sense. Even though that some people will try and tell you that's not a fitting end to Homelander, claiming that this underplays him as a villain and isn't very in character for him. I gotta be honest, have you been watching the show? It has always been common knowledge that Homelander's personality is his powers. He gets to do whatever the fuck he wants because of his powers. Therefore, he's allowed to make threats, kill anyone he pleases, and receives no punishment for it at all because, say it with me, his powers. So when you take that away and he doesn't know what to do because he isn't the strongest one in the room anymore, he most definitely would say shit like this.
I'll be in second. Please, I'll do anything. You want me to eat? I'll eat your fucking
I think it's incredibly in character and is the perfect ending to his character. And then you have Butcher, who, just like Homelander, dies at the end of the show, put down by Huey after he threatens to unleash the soup-killing virus, ultimately killing millions of innocent and not so innocent soups, which also mirrors Homelander, essentially making Billy no better than him. And this really works for me, as I do feel like the show has done an excellent job at setting up Billy Butcher as a likable protagonist, but also as fans, we know that this guy's nuts and incredibly emotionally unstable, and in some ways could be considered a villain as well. But that's not going to change the fact that we as fans still like his character and also understand where he's coming from, because yeah, soups ruin Billy's life. life. So it's no surprise at all that he'd try and do something like this. And him losing the two things at the end of the show in his heart that he still cares about, being Ryan, who wants nothing to do with him, and Tara, is a completely justifiable reason, and reason why he'd go to that dark place and essentially want to commit genocide. However, you know the teeny tiny little problem with this? Despite me enjoying where everyone ended up by the end, all of these endings happen way too quick and are barely developed. As an example, when the boys realize the only way to stop Homelander is to experiment on Kimiko and give her Soldier Boy's fucking Biden blast abilities, giving her the opportunity to take away all of Homelander's powers, making him vulnerable enough for them to kill him, that all happens in 2 episodes. Something that the show in prior seasons would have took like a whole season to set up, which is a huge missed opportunity on the show's front because it gives us no time to focus in on Homelander and show him doing evil things and his rise to godhood, which he had been actively hyping up throughout the entirety of the season. You know, like Scorched Earth, like something we had heard about 2 seasons ago. And they don't even like mention Scorched Earth at all in the last episode. And there are other examples like this as well, like this whole plot line where Homelander wants to get the V1, the first iteration of Compound V, which will fundamentally make him immortal. But this is something that they could have developed through the course of a whole season, not something they drop like 3 episodes in. Like, come on, guys. And you know what I hate as well? Is that they bring back one of the best characters in the show, Soulja Boy, my goat. I love this man. And they reduce him to nothing more than just setting up Vought Rising. Why? Why couldn't you just leave all this setup out of the final season? You're already rushing out the door with your finale anyways. You could have taken more time to do other things in the season, like properly represent Frenchie's sacrifice, which I also think was just way too fast. You know, it also would have set up some stakes in this season, something that the beginning of the season did remarkably well, but was dropped ultimately later in the season for some fucking reason. And also, I just gotta say this right now. Is it just me, or did this season feel incredibly sauceless? Like, one thing about The Boys that I've always really loved is I love how distinct the tone is, where shock value was more or less built into the show itself from the ground up, which led to some of the craziest, most absurd moments ever in television.
He's trying to get in my ass!
Which in my eyes is a key property of what made The Boys so unique and successful, and I feel like that's been completely wiped away, and that could be something as small as just like the gore and blood in certain sequences. But going back to the pacing problems of these last few episodes, due to these issues, and the last chunk of this season feeling so incredibly rushed and thrown together, it makes the whole ending feel so unearned and safe. And this of course extends to certain things I liked about this season, like the certain ending that characters got. They could have been way more fleshed out and given way more time to feel really impactful. Because the truth of the matter is, they don't. They don't feel very impactful by the end of the show. You appreciate where it ends up, but you feel nothing, unfortunately. This season feels like a hodgepodge of like multiple different seasons all mashed into one, and honestly, that fucking super sucks. Like, that's horrible. I can't believe I just said super sucks in a video, but it's true. Which leads me to how I would have fixed this season. Simply being, just split these different arcs into different seasons. Like, as an example, Season 5 should have only focused on V1 and Homelander's turn to immortality, perfectly setting up the final season and giving us time to see Homelander's further descent to madness as he starts to reign over America. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that I want some like Mad Max apocalypse scenario where Homelander's king. I just want Homelander to be set up as an unrelenting, overwhelming force like he had been in prior seasons, which would have made his eventual defeat 10 times more satisfying and deserved. By doing this, we also could have just chopped out all of the Vought Rising setup out of the last season entirely, which could have given us time to include other things the show had previously set up, like the cast of Gen V showing up and actually having somewhat of a presence throughout this show, instead of being included in 2 episodes and then just fucking off by the end and practically serving no purpose whatsoever. And obviously we could have also built up Kimiko getting Soldier Boy's powers and been given more time for the finale to feel more grand. Maybe making the fight between Homelander and the boys feel more like a spectacle on the same level as season 3. And that doesn't mean I need a big endgame style battle, but can we at least properly represent Homelander as a character and his abilities? Like, we know what Homelander can do. We know Homelander can fly, like, just as fast as A-Train. So why the fuck is he moving so slow here?
What is this shit?
Like, you literally showed us how fast he could fly prior in the season. And also nitpick, how the hell were Butcher and Ryan enough to hold Homelander in place? Because if I'm not mistaken, last time that happened, they needed 3 people, one of them being the most powerful superheroes on the planet. And they still weren't enough. All in all, honestly, that's how I'd fix the season. Simple, I know, but that's all it really needed. Time to develop and form one of the best finales in television history, which unfortunately we were robbed of. And it still pisses me off tremendously. But since we're here though, I quickly want to go into the ratings for this season. I understand it's not a traditional review. I don't care.
We do not care.
I'm unfortunately going to give this season from a casual point of view a 6 out of 10. It brings me so much pain to say that, but I can't sugarcoat it. And from a critical point of view, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Those last episodes did so much damage that I can't, in good conscience, give it anything higher in my opinion. And as for a tagline, simply put, The Boys Season 5 soars momentarily before falling flat on its face. And that takes us to the end, my fellow viewers. Thanks for sticking around and letting me talk about The Boys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it was a lot and I was honestly bound to miss some things. So comment down below anything you thought was an issue this season or something you really liked. I would love to hear about it. And if you're interested, drop a like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of my future videos. But until next time, I'll see you later.